Hi. Self-care versus soul-care. Self-care, hashtag self-care, treat yourself. It's everywhere, thrown around with hashtags all over social media, health websites, lifestyle blogs. It means different things to different people. In popular culture, it's scented candles, body scrubs, walks on the beach, cancelling plans, having a sleep in, having a snack, not apologizing for looking after yourself, getting a manicure, getting a pedicure, getting both, weightlifting, wearing a designer robe, being kind to yourself. So many options for self-care. Seriously, wow. So as you can see, as I said, it means a lot of different things to different people. But is self-care the same as soul care? And why should we even care? You're probably thinking. What difference will that make? What difference will knowing the difference make on my life? Well, let's say it's going to make a huge difference on your happiness. So stick around and you'll find out why. Hi, I'm Katrina Alvir. I'm a high school teacher and I'm also a mentor for young people. I'm also a positive psychologist, so I love all things well-being and I love helping young people thrive through their teenage years, not just survive. And I want to talk to you about the difference between genuine self-care, which is essentially caring for both our bodies and our soul, and the self-care currently marketed to all of us, whatever age we are. There's a soul care which leads to real joy, and a self-care that only really hits the surface of joy, that merely taps into that insatiable need of all of us for escapism, pleasure, or comfort. That can never really be satisfied if that's all we live for. The self-care I want to tell you about is one that leads to a deeper joy that doesn't depend on a lot of money, bubble baths, massages, and designer bathrobes. It doesn't depend on performative lifestyles where we compare our self-care rituals or routines with others or wait for the public approval. This kind of self-care leaves us even more tired and even more needy. So the other day, I was Googling self-care and soul care, just curious about what was going to come up on my Google search. And one of thousands of videos appeared. So many people are trying to tell us how to take care of ourselves. It's not a bad thing. This one got me really interested. It was called My Keys Soul Care Sunday Routine. I thought, oh, what's that? And wow, it's Alicia Keys. So, she's a pretty soulful kind of woman. I wonder what kind of things she wants to say about soul care. I thought this could be a little bit more interesting since it's actually talking about soul care rather than just self-care. And these were the things that I saw her doing. She was saying, when you care about your inner self, then everything reflects outwardly. I was like, that makes sense. Because if you work on your inner beauty, it'll shine through to the outside. She was talking about being intentional and having rituals. And I was like, okay, let's see what these rituals are. So she comes out with her Alicia Keys candle, sage and oatmeal candle. And she says, look, when you light this candle, I want you to say this mantra. I shine at full wattage. I'm like, okay. Then she said, now you get out my cleanser and you have another mantra while you're washing your face. It's called the Alicia Keys cleanser, and you have to say your mantra is, I am devoted to this moment. All right. Then you put on the luminous exfoliator mantra. Well, that's the mantra, but while you're exfoliating, you're thinking to yourself or you're saying this mantra, I am layered and complex and divine. Right? Then you put this spray. She's taking out more and more products. Reviving Aura Mist. Rose heart. It's made of roses, okay? And it's meant to open in your heart. And as you spray this, you say, I am free as the air. Okay, then you put on the Harmony Mask, which makes you glow. This gives you a beautiful glow on the outside. I'm guessing hopefully on the inside too. And then you say to yourself, I walk in my own strength. Then you put on the skin transformation cream. And it says, your mantra for this is, I welcome all circumstances as a catalyst for change. Because, when you put something on your face, you change as a human being. Your character, you grow. Then you get this roller. That one looks pretty fun. All right, so you get this roller and you're rolling your face. It's called the obsidian roller. And as you roll around your face, probably need some myself, you say, I am strong, capable, unstoppable. That's not all, folks. Then there's a comforting balm, and then you need to, pour in, as you put that balm on your lips, you pour into yourself all that you need, and you say, I surround myself with things that are good for me, as you're putting that balm on. Everything else, she said, everything else will take away from you, will deplete you. You need this to nurture yourself. And I was really waiting, after all these products, I was waiting for something soul nurturing, and that was soul care. That sounded more to me like Alicia Keys' 8-piece collection, complete skincare line. Sorry, soul nourishing or nurturing skincare line. So guys, it's obvious. It's obvious that both self-care and now even soul care have been hijacked by the $1 million beauty industry. That's how the industry works. It finds a need, it finds a flaw, it finds an emptiness and weariness of life, and sells something to fix it all. And why not? Because so many people seem to be needing a lot of soul care these days. Just look at social media. Last I Googled, hashtag self-care had about 29.5 million posts on Instagram. Hashtag self-care had 16.3 million. Products that proclaim self-love publicly are picking up steam as well. Things like self-care temporary tattoos in the shape of band-aids, bearing reassurances like this too shall pass, or I am enough, everything will be okay. So people are really, you can see people are thirsting for this kind of peace or restoration in their life. And remember the list of things that come under self-care: the pampering sessions, the foot scrubs, the counseling plans, the weightlifting, the designer robes, the skincare, nurturing, soul care routine. If that's all there is to it, well then what's the problem? Who cares? But the majority of these things in and of themselves, really, they aren't harmful. I'm not saying they're bad things, they're good. Like, we have to look after our bodies. But as this growing trend, this concept that widely embraces some concerning underlying, if things like, if all these activities come together and say, if it makes you feel better, if you need it to feel better, then it's self-care. And as long as it makes you feel more happy, more calm, more relaxed, then it's justified. Go for it. Can that approach really make us happy in the long run? Does that really make a meaningful life of service and of love? Think about it. Just think about it. Self-care as an unchecked habit can lead to a life that is inherently inward looking and ultimately self-absorbing. While switching off from maybe the news or the rest of the world is one thing, but switching off from the reality of the people who need us and the people who like want us in their lives is another thing. Switching off from God and switching off from things of the soul is also shooting ourselves in the foot, because that's what we're made for. We're made to get out of ourselves. We're made for struggle, and we're resilient enough to handle these things. Obviously, we all need to rest. We all need time out. But if that becomes our one and only consolation in life, if that becomes our one and only goal, we are missing out on the beauty of life, because life is a battle. The beauty is in the battle. Pope Benedict XVI said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Let's be honest. This kind of greatness entails effort. It entails service. It entails, yes, energy depletion. And ultimately, it entails sacrifice and love. Peter Kreeft said it even more graphically. Life is a battlefield, not a bathtub. So when self-care is embraced as a constant attitude, it can become an excuse for avoiding responsibilities the duties of our state, for example, getting out of anything that we don't feel like doing or we don't want to do. It's an excuse to bury ourselves away at the expense of reaching out and helping other people, especially when others might be really annoying or difficult or really overwhelming or very underwhelming, maybe boring. That can happen. It's an attitude that forgets the value of self-discipline and routine, of the goodness of just doing things simply because, they need to get done. However boring or irrelevant they are, these tasks are needed to help other things get done, and other people need us there. Self-care unchecked says that we deserve everything when we want it, how we want it, simply because we've earned it because we're a good person. In the worst case scenario, this leads us to using others as objects for our own pleasure and discarding them when we've done or we've had enough. Perhaps the explosion of this kind of self-care is a backlash, of course, to the materialistic culture that we also live in, that says that we're only worth what we produce, we're only worth the value of how hard and long we work for money. And fair enough, that is not also very human. We're not machines. We're not made just to churn out products or tasks or things, but we must prioritize truly good things in life. Time with family, friends, rest, play, are more than just important. They're utterly necessary. So yes, there is a balance there. So what is genuine soul care? I found the answer in an interview I read with a renowned celebrity beauty therapist. I know you're thinking like, what? But he said apparently he uses products which are clean, they are not surgical to produce the same results as Botox, okay? And of course, it is more pricey than Botox because it is all natural and clean. But the interesting part of the interview was that he said at the end, he said that the women who were the most beautiful, probably the men too, that were the most beautiful had something no one could buy. Happiness. He said happiness, when a person radiates true joy and happiness from within, that makes them beautiful. Now that sounded more like soul care to me, those who are truly happy and have an inner joy that radiates from within, produces something that is more, that's coming from something more spiritual for me. That's a spiritual source. It's not like they're slapping on, beauty products to make themselves happy, and peaceful. It's coming from inside of them. They radiate not only natural beauty, but also a healthy, humble self-esteem and a security. And that security of being unconditionally loved. That's essentially what I think the Alicia Keys of the world would love to bottle and sell, but they can't, because that comes from somewhere else. All of us become weary in both body and soul. All of us ache, not only for rest, we actually ache for God. We ache for God. We ache for his peace. We ache for his joy. We ache for his presence. And we ache for that happiness that only he ultimately can give. Deep down, we all know that we can't restore and revive a deep spiritual joy and peace of the soul with material products that we put on our face or eat. Pope Francis puts it so beautifully in his encyclical, The Joy of the Gospel. He says, our infinite sadness can only be healed by an infinite love. I'll say it again, it is so powerful. Our infinite sadness can only be healed by an infinite love. And that infinite love is God, guys. His love is restorative. In the letter to the Ephesians, St. Paul says, be renewed in the spirit of your minds and put on the new self, created in God's way. He's the one who renews us in prayer, in the sacraments, in time with him. Self-care talks all about showing up to yourself every day. Soul care is showing up to God, to the God who loves you, who is absolutely, gaga for you. And he's given his life for you. He's given his life blood for you. He sacrificed himself for you. So showing up to him and knowing and feeling his love every day, discovering his undying love and his mercy, resting in that love, being okay with silence, finding your self-worth in him. I can't do this for you. I can only encourage you to do that. Take the time to discover it for yourself. that's your choice, and that's up to you. That's your call now. But just as Jesus said to his apostles when they were tired, when they were like fed up and had enough of all the crowds and all the craziness, he says, come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest. And he's telling us that, come on, show up to me, let your soul rest in me. Make time, guys, make time. Carve it out of your social media time that often can leave us listless, empty, restless, jealous, sad, comparing and despairing. You've made us for yourself, and we can't rest till our hearts rest in you. St. Augustine discovered that. If he was living today, he'd be fully into all the things that all the young people are into today, but he'd also realize the same thing, that those things don't really fulfill us. Write in your prayer journal. They're all, the self-care people are so into their journals. Well, write in a prayer journal. Write to our Lord. Don't just write to yourself. 10 minutes with Jesus. There is a cool app called the 10 minutes with Jesus app. Just 10 minutes. Start off with 10 minutes and listen. You can be anywhere, walking, on the train, going to uni, going to school. Invest in reading some spiritual reading books to inspire you, to recenter you into Jesus. I love one. It's called Self-Esteem Without Selfishness. Google it. You'll find it. It is so good. Let's face it. If we don't center on Jesus, the alternative is to center around ourselves. It's so tempting to do that. And that alternative really does not satisfy us, we know. We're also dealing with the innate human struggle that wants to be generous and while at the same time wants to be selfish. We've got that pull, that tug because of original sin. The question is to ask ourselves every day, am I living a Christ-centered life or a me-centered life? A me-centered life will, of course, prioritize ourselves. A Christ-centered life will seek to serve other people. It will become sensitive to the times when we are asked to give more. We'll stop and pray like, God, do you want me to give more here? Or is it time for me to pull back and have a rest? And then it will be sensitive for the times when our Lord just says, I just want to be with you. Talk to me. Be with me. Real self-care is better described as self-respect or self-discipline. They come together. We know what that's like when we've spent a whole day just, doing whatever we feel like, watching Netflix, eating whatever we feel like, being a total slob. We don't really have much self-respect for ourselves. We're actually quite frustrated with ourselves. So real self-care, self-respect, self-discipline. Real self-care is an attempt to live a well-ordered life with all things in moderation, with balance, in order to avoid detrimental stress. We know that when we've just done whatever we feel like, then we get stressed because we got an assignment or something big due the next day, and we're like, have so much regret. If self-care means you are putting off tasks that need to be done, delaying other people, avoiding work, study, chores, avoiding friends because you can't be bothered, then the effect is that your life will just become a chaotic mess. Looking after yourself doesn't mean self-indulgence. It means things like getting enough sleep in order to function, eating healthy so that you can live well, so that you can serve well and be strong and healthy, keeping on top of your chores, keeping on top of your cleanliness. In that way, life is calmer for you. It's more balanced. You can look after other people too. And you are able to look around you and live with a heart that is really inviting and open and ready and not blocking others out. There are times for sorrow. There are times to retreat, to be alone, to heal, to cry. But there are also times for getting up and facing the world and embracing the world passionately with all of our fragility and with all of our vulnerability and all of our hurt. We can't just give up and curl into a little corner. We can for a little while, but then we get back up again because we love. What matters is our inner attitude, and are we still prioritizing those worse off than us? The poor, the sick, the lonely. Do we stop and pray, and are we listening sensitively and attentively to what God's telling us, like where we should be, who we should be helping, where we could contribute? Is our rest and downtime allowing us to get up and begin again with renewed and refreshed enthusiasm? Or is it just leaving us more apathetic, more lazy, more centered on ourselves? Are we centered on Christ? Or are we centered on ourselves? Are we seeking deep joy, deep fulfillment and meaning in our life and purpose? Or are we just seeking this fleeting comfort, escapism. It's easy. We've all fallen into it. No one's immune to this. No one. There's a famous Italian saying, and it says, when the body is well, the soul dances. And for sure, when our body is well, our soul will dance. But I'd also like to add, when the soul is well, when we're really nourished, our soul with our Lord, with Jesus, with the sacraments, with prayer, with silence. When the soul is well, the body dances, and it dances with a genuine joy, and it doesn't dance alone. Thank you.